The burden of love is the burden of reciprocation. Reciprocation means you must do something that matches what I've done for you. You must do something that matches what I have done for you. You do something that matches what I did. Not something that is completely different. And when you see strong love, extreme. That's why sometimes I ask myself, so why did Jesus die? What are all these? But he went to great lengths. He could have come to this world when we had invented the electric chair or the lethal injection and just received an injection and died. But look at the thing that he went through. In 1 Samuel chapter 25 and verse 2, we read 1 Samuel chapter 25. There was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel. The man was very great. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was sharing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of that man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish, which means harsh, and evil in his doings. And he was of the house of Caleb. Now David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men. Okay? And David said to the young men, go to Carmel and greet him in my name. And this is what you shall say in verse 6. To him that liveth in prosperity. Today, most of the Christian churches are living in prosperity in a certain way. We are living in prosperity. Compared to what before, a charismatic church doesn't have cars parked outside. It's true. So, this is what you shall say to him that liveth in prosperity. Now I have heard that thou hast shearers, and your shepherds which were with us, we heard them not. We didn't heard them. Neither was there aught missing unto them all the while they were in Carmel. Like nothing got missing while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will show thee. We were like security. I'm talking about reciprocation. The burden of reciprocation. The burden of doing something reciprocal. Now, wherefore, let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. I pray thee, whatever comes to your hand, I'm not asking for a percentage or even any fixed amount, but I'm asking that anything at all that comes to your hand, to your servants, and to your son David. And when David's young men came, they spoke to Nabal according to these words in the name of David. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David? That is not reciprocation. That is, you see, even the question, who is David? Who is David? Who is that? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. So he called them rebels. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my sharers and give it to men I don't know, whom I know not whence they be? So that is not reciprocation, because these guys were securing your sheep for years, for all this period. So David's young men turned their way and went again and told him all these things. And David said unto his men, gird ye every man on his sword. And they girded every man on his sword 400 men. 400. But one of the young men in verse 14 told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, David has sent messengers, and he railed on them. Rail on them means insulted them. Okay? But the men were very good to us, and we were not hurt. Neither missed we anything as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. When you have somebody you cannot speak to, no matter what you say, you try to talk to the person, you cannot speak to him, he's a son of Belial. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves, 2 bottles of wine, 5 sheep already dressed, parched corn, raisins, cakes, figs, and laid them on asses, and said to her servants, Go before me. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. And it was so that as she rode on the ass, she came down, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David has said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow had in the wilderness. So it was useless for me to look after this man in the wilderness, so that nothing was missing of all that pertained unto him. And he hath requited me evil for good. So also God do to the enemies of David, if I leave of all that pertained to him by the morning light, any that pisseth against the wall. That is a dog. The dogs will be against the wall. So he said that if I leave even a dog, you see by this evening. And Abigail saw David, and she hasted and lighted off and fell before David and bowed herself to the ground and fell at his feet and said, O Lord, upon me let this iniquity be. Let me speak and hear the words of your handmaid. Let not my Lord regard this man of Belial. She was really negotiating nicely. Even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord, whom thou... I didn't see them when they came. If I had been there, this wouldn't have happened. Now, therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood. All right? Now, this blessing which thine handmaid has brought unto my Lord, let it be given to the young men that follow my Lord. Just 5 sheep. That was all that she wanted, 5 sheep. So, brothers and sisters, this is a story of a man who failed to do the reciprocation. And David said to her, David's response is in verse 33. He said, Blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood and from avenging myself with my own hand. All right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, what God is saying is that when good has been done for you, you see, many times you don't realize what has been done. Sometimes when people leave the church, they don't even say goodbye. Sometimes you ask yourself that as you were here, you may not know what has been done for you, and that is the whole point. Many people don't realize what is being done for them. When you are in a church, you don't realize what is being done till the church is taken away. Like we had in the pandemic, no church. Then you realize there's a need for church. And many things that are done for you by God, by the church, you don't know. Where is the young man? Come. Your mother, did your mother used to advise you? Your mother used to advise you. She was talking to you to change. And were you changing? What his mother couldn't do. Reverend Steve, you said this is called Steve.
Yes, please.
Reverend Steve.
Yes,
Steve what?
Poku.
Steve Poku in Leeds. Steve Poku in Leeds. Reverend Steve Poku. He's a lay pastor. He's a doctor and a gynecologist. But that was a pastor that God made this boy meet. He's a lay pastor. He has never been paid even £5 before by the church. Huh? And his wife, LP Edith. Now, your mother couldn't change you. So you see, the church may not advertise that what your mother couldn't do, the church has done it. Huh? Unspoken. Sit down. Now, police. Did the police advise you? Apart from arresting you, did they advise you?
Yes, please.
Who advised you? Do you remember? Was it a constable, a corporal, what?
Many. I think when you're young as well, they give you youth offending officers.
Youth offending officers?
Yeah.
Were the youth offending officer able to change you?
At all. Never.
Youth offending officers could not change. But you see, the church may not advertise and say, what the youth offending officers could not do, the church has been able to do, or God's power has been able to do. Now, you said that they tied your leg to something.
Yeah,
what is that?
I had a tag around my ankle.
Tag?
Yeah, it's like an electronic.
Electronic tag.
Yes.
So they put something on him and monitor his movement. So when he crosses certain places, now they will alert. Yeah. So it's like, you know how the wild animals, they put, what do you call it, on the lion, they put a collar, not Geo Wild, you watch it. So they did it to him because it was like he was like a wild animal.
And time as well.
And they put what?
You can only go out at certain times.
Out of your house?
Yeah.
At certain times. So if you go out of the house at a certain time, it rings in the police station. And the animal is moving. So then let's catch the guy. Then they go and catch him. Was it able to change you?
Never. Never.
You still continue doing bad things?
Yes.
Even with the tag on?
Yes.
How were you able to escape?
Oh, sometimes I'd be sprinting when I knew it was close to 7 o'clock. I'd be at a girl's house. And then I'd say, okay, I need one of my friends to come and pick me up so that I can get home by 7 before the police come.
Police come. Wow. Police could not change him. Electronics could not change him. But Jesus could change him. Amen. Now, Jesus doesn't advertise so much and say, what I've done for you, 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 what I've done. You are supposed to know that something has been done for you. And all of us, right, must be supportive of Healing Jesus campaign, must be supportive of missionary work, must be supportive of sending missionaries to the world. Recently, I met a German man. He told me, I worked with Bonke for 40 years. And a German man, he wanted me to do something to help in a crusade that they were going to have. He's an old man, but I met him in Canada. He asked for an appointment, and I sat with him. And he said to me, I said, but how do you know about it? He said, oh, we know you. He said, everywhere we go in Africa, we see the effect of your work. And he said, apart from the crusades you've been holding, the churches that you've planted in the different countries, we see all those things. He said to me, I worked for Bonke and with Bonke for 40 years. I'm now retired, and Bonke was also old at that time. As we send missionaries, if you are part of this church and you don't even believe in sending anybody to anywhere, shut your mouth and leave the church than sit here and criticize what you don't understand. Nobody would be saved. Nobody would be saved in Ghana if missionaries had not come in 1847 to Ghana to come and live here and give their lives. There will be no Christ, there will be no church, there will be nothing. That's how, maybe you don't know how a church comes about. It's like food. One time I went to the kitchen and I saw blood, some meat, blood. I said, what is this horrible thing? This is the food you are going to eat. So I said, I didn't know that it's like this. I said, that is how it is before, later it is cooked and it comes to you. So maybe you don't know how it is before a church comes into existence. You don't know how it is before somebody is saved, somebody's life is changed. How it is, you have to preach, you have to hold meetings, you have to train people, you have to send them into the world, support them, do missions. You don't know how churches come about. That is what your problem is. You don't know how it comes up for people to be saved like this. And for him to give his life and say, I want to also give my life to help to preach the word of God whilst I also have a chance. Because what he has to do, I cannot do. Reverend Steve Poku, I don't know, he never told me about this young man, but I know him. And he has preached to this one, and his wife has also preached to him. And they are sitting there in Leeds and wherever, talking to the young people. The whole city is full of young people. Everybody's gone astray. Only Jesus can save. And I tell you, God is saying there is a burden on you because of the love that has been shown to you. And just as, thank you, my friend, just as David was preaching, this guy, Nabal, there was a burden on him. Because even though David had not said, I'm your security officer, just as the church doesn't boast and tell you, I've done this for you, I've done this for you, I've done this for you, I've comforted you, I've prayed for you, I've anointed you, I've given you a sane mind, I've given you something to stabilize you in your life. Your children. In the church, so many people's children in the church stabilized, changed. What parents could not do, Jesus does over the years. Years and years are going by. You have a burden to respond to God, his love for you. There is a burden on us. Those words, I love you, don't just receive them and say, hey, what's I love you? Say, hey, take your time. What burden is coming upon me? Don't be careful before you love me too much, before you realize I'm a nest or I'm something I have not planned to be. Yeah. There is a burden on all of us. There is a burden on Lighthouse Chapel. There is a burden on this church. There is a burden on all the denominations to get up and do something. You see pastors giving testimonies. I saw one pastor giving a testimony about books that he had read. I'm sure some of you may have seen that video. It's like, wow. You realize that there is a burden on us to take the books to as far as they will go. There is a burden. And I know that God knew that I would do it. That's why he gave me the revelations that he's giving me. And he's giving me experiences that I've experienced so that I write, because all my writings are based on experience. They are practical realities. Experiences that I've had. And that's what God told John. The things you have seen, write them. If you've not seen it, don't write it. That's why there are some things we don't write. But what you have seen it before, write it. Write it. Write what you've seen. The burden of reciprocation. The burden